right, everyone. I think we're ready to begin. Welcome to the Board of Education this evening. We had a rocky start, but I think we're all ready to go. I'd just like to let everyone know that per open meetings law, we have 2 board members joining us via video conference. They are located here on our iPads. It's Nanette Melkonian, who is currently in Vermont, and Emily Bays, who is currently in Greece, and it's like 3 or 4 a.m. there for her. So she's really dedicated, as is Nanette, so thank them for coming and joining us via video conference. All right, wonderful. So in Emily's absence, I will be presiding over today's meeting, and I think we are going to have a motion to convene the public session. And do I have a second? Second, Mr. Block, and Miss Callahan, are you going to be calling roll for us? Thank you. Mrs. Bays, can you please give your response? Let's see how technology works for us. Emily, can you hear us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Miss Bays. Thank you. Yes, Miss Epstein's here.
Here.
Mrs. Melkonian, are you present? There's a delay. great night to preside over a meeting, didn't I? Welcome. As required by Open Meeting Aug, reminding you that we have 2 board members video conferencing in. And in addition to our efforts to be a better, more communicative board, we wanted to let you know that the board will be providing a summary of this meeting within 24 hours, which will be 8 p.m. on Wednesday, on both the district website and the Port Washington Union Free School District Facebook page. The minutes and live stream will still be available for viewing and for accessing, but we're just trying this new and see if it's helpful for everyone. And again, we'll be tweaking this and evaluating it throughout the year. So thank you. We have a lot of information tonight to cover. We got a late start, so I'm going to try and make this brief. It was very disappointing to learn that the New York State Department of Health will not be providing guidance on the reopening of schools, and has passed the buck to us, the local school districts and boards. So to my fellow board members, I just remind us that it's our responsibility to work with the school district and govern with the tools that have been provided to us. Many of us, actually the majority of us at this point, ran during COVID and were well aware of what we were getting into. Regarding reopening, will not, especially because we know we're not going to be able to please everyone, right? But we have to make a decision. It is our responsibility. So we are going to look at the best interests of all students and provide them with the best in-person education that we can for most of the days throughout the school year. And that's how we'll look going forward. So thank you, and with that, we'll move forward to community comments. I believe we have a microphone there, and we're going to call the name because I know people signed up in advance. I just want to remind everyone in the community, a community member is allowed 3 minutes at the microphone to share their comments. Make sure that you have signed up at the podium and you come when your name is called this evening. Identify yourself as well. Any questions that are asked during this meeting will then be answered at the subsequent meeting, which right now is scheduled for September 21st, during the old business portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Picciuto, E. Picciuto. Thank you. Hello. Okay. Sure. I'm Elizabeth Picciuto. I hate wearing masks. My kid hates wearing masks, but I'm going to ask that the board enforce a mask mandate on students. My son, Edmund, was born with a very rare genetic disorder, and for the first few months of his life, we didn't know if he was going to live or die. He was in the ICU. It was really terrible. People with his syndrome can die, especially in the first year. But he made it thanks to a team. Sorry. He made it through. Oh, sorry. An amazing team of doctors and pediatricians that saved his life. They worked together, they saved his life, and they continued to sustain him. He's had a lot of health problems, but he's made it every time. He's especially vulnerable to pneumonia, so I'm a little bit COVID paranoid for that reason, more than the rest of them. But what we know about the new Delta variant is that
Kate Boozy.
That day, you want to change the microphone, the battery?
Stephanie Carlucci is next.
Dear Dr. Hines and members of the Board of Education, my name is Dr. Dudley, and I'm a physician, and I'm upcoming first grader at Coosa Elementary School. I practice pediatric gastroenterology and I'm boarded in general pediatrics as well. I've been in contact with 23 other practicing physicians in the community that all live in Fort Washington, and almost all of us have children in the Fort Washington School District. We are speaking as individuals and do not represent any organizations. Based on the current situation with COVID-19, we strongly feel that masks should be mandatory for all children for the upcoming academic school year. We understand we've also received a letter from the New York State Chapter 2 of the American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as a letter from over 200 physicians on Long Island supporting a mask mandate. Since mask guidelines for the public have relaxed, we've seen a significant rise in COVID-19 cases in Nassau County. The Delta variant is at least 50% more contagious than the Alpha variant, as we've seen before. And the Delta variant is making up about 72% of current COVID-19 infections in New York, with cases in Nassau County continuing to climb. At the time of the last Board of Education meeting on July 14th, Nassau County was running about 68 cases per day over a 7-day average, and we currently have over 300 cases per day over a 7-day average. This curve has no signs of leveling off. Children are getting COVID-19 at much higher rates than the past. Besides mortality, children do get ill from COVID-19 and are at risk for MIS-C, which can be quite severe and they can also develop long hauler symptoms. Masks are effective against COVID-19 when used properly. Masks are also most effective when everyone is wearing them. There is ample scientific evidence to support this, and the CDC recommends universal masking in schools. The AAP also recommends universal masking in schools with rare exceptions for children with significant special needs. We've had the luxury of watching school districts in other states who started school earlier this month. Already multiple districts who started with optional masks have had to close or go virtual due to high numbers of infected children and staff, as well as significant portions of the student body in quarantine. School is critically important. Besides the educational aspect, it provides stability, nourishment, social and emotional support for children. All of us personally want to see children in the school. However, we want the children, teachers, and staff to be safe. And this requires a combination of strategies, including but not limited to vaccination, masks, improved ventilation, social distance, and surveillance testing. As you know, children less than 12 are unable to get vaccinated, which leaves them in a particularly vulnerable situation. Last week, the governor of New Jersey mandated masks for all school children. It's unfortunate that New York State has passed such a significant decision on public health policy to superintendents and school boards in the state of New York. Public health policy should be determined by medical health experts and not be subject to popular opinion. There is absolutely no ambiguity from the CDC and AAP about the importance of continuing the use of face masks for school children. It's of utmost importance to keep our children healthy, and masks are a critical part of trying to ensure that children, teachers, and staff are safe and able to continue in-person learning.
Thank you. I'm sorry. We're cutting short. Your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, can I read the names of the physicians?
You know what? You have the document right there.
I do.
Do you mind leaving it in the folder on the podium so that we can make sure that it's incorporated and read into the record as well?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Danielle Greenberg is next.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Carlucci. I'm a general pediatrician and a mom of 3 kids, 2 who attend the schools in the Fort Washington School District and 1 who attends a local preschool. I'm here tonight with some of my colleagues who also live in Fort to speak to you about the importance of a mask mandate for the upcoming school year. As a pediatrician, pediatrician, I've seen how important school is for children. Over the last year and a half, I've seen an increase in anxiety, depression, and eating disorders among my patients. Kids need to be in school for their education, but we also know that school is an important part of kids' social and emotional well-being. We need to be able to send our children to school in person, but we need to provide a safe environment for our children, many of whom are too young to be vaccinated. We also need to provide a safe environment for the teachers and staff. Masks are an important part of keeping schools open and safe. The AAP and CDC have both made recommendations for universal masking indoors in K-12 schools. The rise of the Delta variant across the country has made this guidance even more crucial. The CDC recommends all individuals, regardless of their vaccination status, now mask indoors in counties where there is substantial or high transmission in the community. This includes Nassau County. Children can get COVID, they can transmit it to their family members and friends. Some children will wind up getting very sick and require hospitalization or develop long-term symptoms. This can happen to even healthy children with no medical history. Please do your part to help keep the children, teachers, and staff, and in turn the whole community of Port Washington safer by continuing to mandate masks in our school district. Thank you.
Robert Lyons is next.
Testing, testing.
Hi,
This isn't the chat.
hi, my name is Danielle Greenberg. I'm a mother of 2 in this community. My children attend elementary school. They have asthma. They are unable to be vaccinated. I'm also the wife of a local doctor, who treats many people in this community, and the sister of a pediatric attending who's currently working tirelessly in a Southwest hospital overrun with COVID pediatric patients. That's making worse than we are right now. I am here to support a mask mandate. I hope that the board understands that masks keep everyone safe, and it would be detrimental and irresponsible to risk children's lives and the lives of their loved ones by not making this possible. My own children understand the value of masks. It allows them to learn in person 5 days a week without shutdowns and constant pivots to remote learning, and keeps them safe from a deadly pandemic. It is our job as parents, adults, and a school board to keep children safe while giving them the best education possible, as Julie noted was the goal tonight from the board. There are some supporting points. Our elementary and middle school children, early middle school children, are not eligible and cannot get vaccinated. The only tool we have to keep them safe is the mask mandate. The CDC and American Association of Pediatrics have both said that should be worn for children. The Delta strain is more contagious. It will spread more rapidly through the schools. The infection rates in children are exponentially greater with Delta than with Alpha. Children's hospitals in states where the Delta spike is ahead of New York are overrun and short in beds, and children are being airlifted to other hospitals for emergency treatment. They are getting sicker. This is a fact. It's not hearsay. Masks protect everyone and the community. Last year was incredibly successful, with almost no in-school transmission, and this was because of masks. The kids don't have an issue wearing them. Our kids want them. My children and their friends are begging for them in order to keep them safe and to allow for a successful year of education in person and to provide for the social stability a school provides them. Dallas, Austin, Miami, Tallahassee County have all come out and made mask mandates. Those superintendents are willing to give up their salaries to vote against their governors to keep these children safe because they don't want the responsibility of risking it otherwise. All of California has a mask mandate. Parts of Westchester, Suffolk County, our neighbors have mask mandates. If it seems like the mask mandate supporters are in light tonight, it's because we didn't assume we'd have to protest on behalf of mandates. We just assumed that was a given going into the school year and that the focus would be on other topics. So I beg you, please, keep our children safe, allow them to be educated, allow them to have a great school year. Please enforce the mask. Thank you for your time.
Gina Carlton.
Good evening. My name is Robert Lyons. I have 3 small children, 2, 4, and 6, who 3 years ago. For the last year, we've been living in Suffolk. My children were in school in Suffolk County last year with no mask mandate. School went fine. I know that this is an unpopular opinion, perhaps, that there are people who want to have an abundance of caution to make sure that we're doing everything possible for the safety of our community. Part of the reason that we live in Fort Washington is because of the community and the diversity of views and ways of tackling the problem. Whether it's through increased ventilation or a number of different things, there's not only one answer to this problem. I can tell you definitively, in the Scion-Bensenberg School District, for pre-K 1-year-olds, this was fine. Okay, the school was shut down 2 weeks to staff a cohort, but then they were up 90% of the time. We need options for this. We cannot mandate and take out of the hands of the parents the right to choose for their children. Many people in this room would agree my body, my choices. We are collectively making the decisions for our children. While on one hand we must protect the most vulnerable, these children, 2, 4, 6, are most vulnerable to degradation in their growth in nonverbal communication, in interpersonal skills, and making friends, being members of the community. I agree with confidence that people are sick, they will put in the right measures to protect themselves and notify the community, and to do what is right. I'm vaccinated. I don't know if I was vaccinated right away. There are a lot of things as this evolves, and this information becomes available, that we evolve with. I would ask the community, and I would ask the school board, this is not an easy decision or responsibility that you've undertaken. But know that there are parents who are good members of the community, want safety, but also understand there's a balance what it takes to raise a healthy young child, mentally, physically, and socially. So it has been a mass option, and that you have, within the school district, options for different children. And you do not apply uniform standards which will prejudice certain parents who want to participate in the school district. Thank you for your time. And I hope.
Angela Brady is next. I'll try. Hi.
So I'm not prepared.
I think it's great.
Some of you were.
I totally feel I do not want my child to be mandated to wear a mask. I want them to have a choice. I listen to everybody. I feel for everybody's unique conditions, and I
Literally sitting here thinking, I can't do this very well. I was literally sitting here thinking, like, why are we doing this to people? Why are we saying mask or no mask? When this first started, as a community, as a district, we had no idea how we were handling it. And I was proud to say, look, they're handling it. And now things have changed, they're prolonged, there are effects from having to wear the mask. Somebody said something about, our kids are okay wearing masks. I'm almost crying. My daughter will not take it off. Like at the beach, she's afraid. I can't stand that for my kid. She's afraid. All of her friends are out riding their bikes because they're outdoors and they're okay. My daughter will not go because she's terrified. I can't have that anymore. The mental and emotional anguish. I want my kids to have a choice. And I have unique situations. I have 5
about 15 years. My youngest daughter will be starting her junior year at Schreiber next month. First of all, I would just like to start by saying that I am not anti-mask. My family and I wore masks for over a year. However, at this point, I am pro-personal and parental discretion. I am concerned there are more negatives than positives in forcing children to wear masks in school. The COVID-19 pandemic is about viral transmission. Surgical and cloth masks have repeatedly been shown to offer no benefit in the mitigation of transmission and infection caused by viruses like the flu and SARS-CoV-2, which is why they have never been recommended for use in previous seasons for the flu. Forcing kids to wear face masks in school is ineffective, harmful, and unnecessary. The risk of COVID-19 in children is so low that any imagined benefits cannot possibly outweigh the risks. Based on CDC data, the risk of children between the ages from 0 to 19 dying of COVID-19 is incredibly low risk of 0.00195. This rate is much lower than the risk of children dying from the yearly flu. Kids that cannot tolerate the mask, whether due to asthma, anxiety, distraction, discomfort, or any other reason, should not be forced to suffer daily. I understand that some doctors advocate for masks. However, there are others that feel strongly that forcing kids to wear masks is outright child abuse. Doctors can't be wrong. Doctors can be wrong. Pediatricians can be wrong. I have personal experience in this town with that, for sure. That is why I feel it is so important to leave this decision up to parents. No doctor or member of this school board knows my child as well as I do. If your child can tolerate the mask and wants to wear it, that's great. But forcing children that you do not know the medical history of to wear one is wrong. As board members, it is not your responsibility to deal with the fallout of mask mandates on any given child, i.e. having to take them to the doctor for throat infections, a child crying about going to school because they don't want to wear a mask, or underperforming in school due to complications and distraction from wearing masks. At the last board meeting, a few members expressed displeasure that this decision had fallen in their laps. I completely sympathize and agree with that sentiment. Therefore, the only sensible solution is to allow each individual family member to decide what is best for their children. In this case, you will have relieved yourself of this burdensome responsibility. As my child is in high school, I cannot speak for younger kids in the district. However, I am confident when I say that older kids have been hanging out with each other, maskless, no social distancing for months. They go to parties, they drive around in cars together, have sleepovers, etc. So to make them wear a mask at school is pointless. As for protecting adult staff members that wanted vaccinations most likely have already received them. And also, since when do we place the burden of protecting adults onto our children? It should absolutely be the other way around. Please consider other consequences of these mandates, such as increased suicides, depression, and anxiety. Why do we only care about COVID-19? Our children have been told for a year and a half that they are super spreaders.
I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Your
I'm done.
3 minutes have finished.
I'm done. Children are not super spreaders and vectors of disease. This is not true, and we cannot continue to treat them as such. Thank you.
Dana is next, Rochester.
Can you hear me okay? Should I use this microphone? Hello? Good? Hi, I'm Erica Nagy. I emailed the board and Dr. Hines earlier today. I'm going to go off script right now a little bit. I am pro-choice for the mask. I am against the mask mandate. There have been a lot of claims tonight. I'm sure there will be more claims as more people come up and talk. You can find a lot of information on the internet. Just some brief stuff on cloth masks. They filter anywhere from 3% from some studies to 30 to 70% of particles. Some say they're effective, some say they are not. You can get all sorts of information that are conflicting on the WHO's website, CDC's website, AAP. For example, the WHO and UNICEF advise that children under 5 years of age should not wear masks on parts of their website. They also say children 6 to 11 years old, the decision to wear masks should have other factors taken into account. One of them being the potential impact of wearing a mask on learning and psychosocial development in consultation with teachers, parents, and caregivers, and or medical providers. That's why I am pro-choice here. I am my child's best advocate for whether they should be wearing a mask. I know them best. I know how my son learns best. I know what's best for him socially, emotionally. He is out there with his friends. He does not want to wear the mask. He wants to engage with his friends. If the school board does choose to mandate a mask, parents must demand to see the data behind this. Specifically, what data, what studies have been done involving last year's COVID information with regards to children and adolescents, not adults. We are talking about our children here. The studies and data should be in relation to children. And we need to demand to see that information if you are going to mandate masks. Yep, that's it. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dr. Dana Rochester. I am a physician and a parent of an unvaccinated 11-year-old and 2 vaccinated 14-year-olds. And I'm here asking you to keep all of our K-12 children and staff, regardless of vaccination status, masked indoors for the upcoming school year. Pediatricians across the country are sounding alarms as the more contagious Delta variant is making children sick. We are no longer dealing with the same virus. COVID cases in children are rising. The number of children hospitalized with COVID is rising. Talking about what happened last year in school without mask mandates is not relevant. Other local school districts have instituted mask mandates for the upcoming year, and we should do the same. Masks work. Masks keep people safe from infection. Masks do not prevent you from being able to breathe. As a physician who works all day in an N95 mask, I would like to repeat that. Masks do not prevent you from being able to breathe. These are my colleague physicians who also wear N95s all day and can vouch for the same. Parents will talk to you about personal freedom and allowing them to decide what is best for their child, but our children do not exist in bubbles. Every person's choice affects those around them. An unmasked infected child is much more likely to infect others than one who is masked. Allowing people to choose what they think is best for their child affects every individual who interacts with their child and impacts everyone's rights. Public health precautions work best if everyone follows them. My children will all be masked in school, but they will be safer if everyone around them is masked. We all want our children to attend as much in-person school as possible. If you make masks optional and these extremely contagious variants spread amongst our vaccinated and unvaccinated children and staff, we will have much less in-person school this year. It is our responsibility as a community who cares about each other to keep those around us safe. And if that means wearing masks while this virus is still spreading and harming people, I think that's a small task step required for people. It is unfortunate that our state public health system has left this decision up to the local school districts, but that's politics, and here we are, and this is up to you. Please listen to the experts, the scientists, the epidemiologists, the physicians, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the CDC, all of whom recommend universal mask wearing in K-12 schools, so that you send our community the message that education is important by ensuring we can keep our schools open this year. Please listen to the experts, so our children don't get infected and sick with COVID at school, and then expose their loved ones. Listen to the experts, so that our teachers and staff don't get sick from working in our schools and expose their loved ones. In the absence of guidance from the state, you need to listen to the public health experts, not to the parents who yell the loudest, not to the lawyers. Listen to the experts. School should be the safest place for all of our kids and staff, not a place where their health and that of our community is put at risk. Thank you.
Ingrid Ortega. Sonny Perez, Janice Seltzer. Next up, Clea Gallagher.
Hi, my name is Jen Stelzer. I am an upcoming high school in the district as well as a 15-month-old at home. I am here to implore you to implement a math mandate for all students and staff for the 2021-2022 school year, regardless of vaccination status. With the emergence of the Delta variant and new developments in recent weeks indicating that even vaccinated people are capable of spreading this variant, although do not become very sick and may not even be symptomatic, the only reasonable thing to do to keep our children and faculty safe, especially those not yet eligible to receive the vaccine, is to mandate masks in school. My family and I have been extremely cautious with our behavior throughout the pandemic, even going as far as to choose virtual learning for our daughter last year. While we were lucky to have had a positive experience in the EVLP, we have decided that our daughter needs to attend school in person this year. We've been confident in that decision, based on the success the district had last year at mitigating the spread of COVID in school. Why then, on the heels of a successful school year, would it even be a question whether or not masks should be required in school? It worked last year, the AAP and CDC both recommend it, and as other people have mentioned, we're dealing with the Delta variant, so we can't even compare what happened last year to what may happen this year. As a medical worker, a well-known phrase comes to mind. First, do no harm. Contrary to what anti-maskers may say, masks do not harm the wearer. COVID, however, has the ability to cause great harm. Until my child, currently 5 years old and entering first grade, is eligible to receive the vaccine, she has no other protection against COVID besides masks. I urge you to implement a mandatory mask mandate for all students and staff for the 2021-2022 school year. If you do not, you are potentially placing my child and all other children in the district under 12 years of age in grave danger should they contract COVID while at school. I thank you in advance for making a decision that will best protect the students in your care and not caving to the pressure of a lot of places. Thank you.
My name is Tia Dowding, and I'm here to request for our district to follow the CDC recommendations and require masks in school. And I'm not going to add a lot to what others have said before, very eloquently. What I especially want to say is that I know that there are many, many people in our community who are not here, but who feel as I do. And just this evening, I have been hearing from many, many friends, and while sitting here, essentially, I have now, I believe, the last count, 42 names of people who are happy to have me read their names, saying that they support the same request, and that they feel the same way. Would you like me to read them, or do you have a value of that?
Can you just submit, you have that written down?
I have it written down.
You can submit them to the folder next to it, and then we'll have that information.
Okay, hopefully my chickens got full.
It'll be fine.
Thank you very much. And I would also like to add, specifically on behalf of myself, I believe at this point in the pandemic, we have enough data now to know that my mask protects you, and your mask protects me. My child's mask protects your child, and your child's mask protects my child. Please keep all of our children safe. Thank you.
Rick Sadowski. Next up, Jordan Wolf.
Thank you. My name is Rick Sadowski. As far as masks go, I think it's mandatory there in the school. You know, we talked a little bit tonight about the alpha and the delta and last year and this year. It's apples and oranges. We're not talking about the same thing anymore. So anyone who brings up last year, we did X. is not relevant to what's happening today when it comes to kids. This past weekend, my 4.5-year-old started getting sick. Was in a summer camp and started getting sick. And there was an outbreak in the camp with several kids as well getting the COVID. And I watched my daughter day after day after getting tested and having to wait in New York State. You can't even get a test done now in New York State because they don't have the ability to do it. And I went 4 days with my child home sick to finally find out, you know what, she didn't have it. So thank God she didn't have it. But let me just let that sink into your head. How that makes you feel, wondering if your child has COVID. And this dental variant, we know attacks children more than anything else right now, much worse than the alpha variant. So we must stick to the mask. In business, I traveled in business. Last year or 2 years ago, I traveled 180,000 miles. I know what it is to be out there and see what's happening. It's worldwide for me. And I have friends overseas that are sharing these stories that are just crippled by not wearing masks, not getting the vaccine, losing family, losing 8 loved ones in one family. This is not to be taken lightly. We must do everything we can to protect our kids, protect us, protect everyone. We're a community here, and we got to treat it that way. You know, I wasn't going to come up and say this, but I'm going to say it anyhow because I feel so strongly about this. I've heard tonight from a few people, we're not going to get the vaccine. We're not going to give the kids the vaccine. We're not going to wear masks. My attitude is when it comes to life and everything, that's the most precious gift we've been given, to protect ourselves and protect others. That's our role here as human beings. So if people really, truly don't believe they should get vaccinated, don't wear a mask, step up here, sign a piece of paper on the back. Your information, complete, your family, everybody that won't get it. And then that information should be given to every hospital and every doctor's office. And you know what that should be said? Don't go. If you don't believe that it's going to kill you, if you don't think this virus is going to take you out, write it down, give it to the doctors, and you know what? Stay home. Just stay home. Thank you.
Next up is Helen Cole.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everyone's comments, and I appreciate the sentiment that's being echoed here. I think we all need to take a deep breath. Right? Sentiments, emotions are running high. Thank you. Yes, take a deep breath. Okay. I'm going to have to tell you right now that if we can't continue in a civilized manner, we're going to have to stop community comments. I understand, and I'm asking that everyone be civilized. I understand. All right. I understand what's happening. I think at this point, Mr. Wolf and the preceding people for community comments, we have a second time for community comments at the end of the evening. I'm going to ask that right now we begin the meeting and we pause the community comments, and we'll continue at the end of the meeting for our second session, and we will pick up with Mr. Wolf at the beginning.
I would say I don't think that the rest of us should be penalized for someone else's efforts.
Hold on 2 seconds. All right. I apologize. Sorry. Remember, I'm not used to doing this role. I got put in this role. If we can all take a deep breath, and if we continue to be both the speakers and the community, if we can all be respectful of one another, we can continue with community comments. But if we have another outbreak, we are going to have to pause, and you can come back and speak at the end of the evening for the second part. All right? Are we all in agreement? Nodding our heads. That's clear? All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jordan Wolf. I'm a father of 2 students, one is in Manhattan, the other is going to Weber this year. I'm also a classroom teacher in Flushing, and just a comment about if someone is having an outburst and not able to follow the decorum of a room, as a teacher, I bring them in the hallway and calmly try to understand what's going on with them and how we can get them to incorporate back into the group. So, you know, I think that there's other options instead of stopping the class completely. What I came up here to say is something to the board. I know that our commitment to diversity and inclusion includes a commitment to the culturally responsive sustaining education document put out by New York State. CRSE, at its core, seeks input from families for the decisions that are made about their students in schools. I'm very curious how the board or how our district is going to honor CRSE and find out from families what their opinions are. And I mean all families, not just folks who are coming to a board meeting or folks who perhaps would be likely to respond to an email. But how are we getting out into the community to survey all families about their attitudes towards things such as masks, such as busing, such as lockers, etc. I would like to hear that discussed tonight during the board's discussion of their minutes. Perhaps Dr. Hines has information about something forthcoming. I know other districts, one that I was told about today, Cold Spring Harbor, I got to see their survey that was sent to families. So I'm curious what our district plan is so that we're making decisions based on a full set of information from families and not just making decisions based on maybe a sample of people. I'll say it again, I've said it in this forum before, that I am in support of a full mask mandate. My daughter has asthma. I am susceptible to pneumonia, despite being vaccinated. My daughters are not, because they're too young. And I appreciate all the pediatricians and doctors who have come forward tonight to speak. When we ignore the experts, often it comes with consequences that are foreseen. And we're seeing that in many states right now where many people did not step up to get the vaccine. The rates of COVID are much higher in those states. To my community members who are asking for mask choice tonight, I'm honestly confused as to where this sort of opinion comes from. And I wonder, where does this idea of personal freedom stop? Does it stop with optional stop signs? Optional speed limits? How about restaurants that choose to not follow regulations for food storage?
Excuse me, Mr. Wolf, it's 3 minutes.
I'm honestly confused man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Helen Cohen, next up. Sharon Arnold. Is on deck.
So a great question here is why wasn't this sanitized in between speakers, like at all? Germs, COVID.
You have a mask on, idiot.
My turn, I got 3 minutes, right? Every single box, you can go to any store in the United States, every single box or packaged mask says on the box that masks do not protect you against COVID-19. Every single one. You go to Target, you go to Rite Aid, you go to Walgreens, you go to all of them. They don't work. If you guys should go on the internet, on Google, CDC website, FDA. There is no test for the Delta variant. It doesn't exist. They just started, it doesn't exist. I'll look for it. There's no test. So how do we have the Delta variant? Texas just started maybe doing sequencing, and they're trying to figure out if there is a Delta variant. There's no test. It's just the media that keeps saying Delta. There's no such thing. There's no test for it. There are no PCR tests in New York City and most of America because the FDA just rejected the application for the PCR testing manufacturers. They have to go and withdraw their application by December. That's why we don't have a test.
okay? There's so many things that people said here today that had nothing at all to do with science. Taking choices out of parents, for parents, for kids, you can't do that. You don't even have science to back up anything that there's no science that exists to back that up. To say masks work, they don't work. They don't, this freaking virus came from a lab, right? In China, we all agree now, it's all out. It's all out, right? What they were wearing airtight suits in the lab, right? Level 3, level 4 hazmat suits. They were wearing suits. Your homemade mask from the farmer's market, honey, is not protecting you from anything. Keep laughing. It's not going to protect anybody. The whole world got a virus from another country. A lot of people in China wore masks. The lab had masks. I mean, to force little children go to school, they can't smile at each other. The psychological damage that this has done to our children, kids committing suicide, kids depressed, they go and hang out with their friends after school anyway, right? They don't wear masks. They're out in the streets, play dates, whatever. They're not wearing masks. But the psychological damage, is the Board of Ed ready to pay damages for the psychological, long-term, and physical damage that this is doing to our kids, right? Somebody commits suicide because COVID depressed them, and school's supposed to be a safe place. 8 hours a day we send our kids to school, right? But we're still, we're selling them this freaking fear stuff over what? With no science backing it up.
I'm going to ask, we're at the 1 hour mark of having community comments. And we have a second, ma'am, I'm sorry, can you please sit down? Thank you. We have a second community comments option that starts at the end of the evening. We'd like to get on with the business of the day so that we can conduct our business and move forward, but we'll hear from everyone else at the end of our second community comments. Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right, on to the next portion of our agenda. We have a motion, I'm making a motion to adopt agenda. Can we have a second? Oh, we already adopted it? Thank you. Thank you. We're on to the superintendent's report then. Thank you. Dr. Hines, I ask that you...
Good evening, everyone. I know emotions are running high right now. And for what it's worth, I do deeply value both sides of the aisle here as far as what people are thinking and feeling. Detaching myself as a superintendent, and I'm looking at what you were all saying. As a parent, I don't live here, but I certainly live in a community that is just as spirited about these types of discussions. And as long as we continue to make this civil, we are one community. And we may disagree about this right now, but in the end, I think we all want the same thing, which is to ensure that our kids and our staff are safe as we begin school in less than 3 weeks. So with that said, I'm just going to turn it over to Dr. Shields regarding an enrollment report. I know we have 2 presentations, really not so much presentations, but updates regarding some important things that are happening within the district. One is a facilities update, which Mr. Restano, and we have our wonderful new Assistant Superintendent of Business who will discuss facilities as far as what's happening, not only with construction, as you can tell from trying to get here, but also then we will take a deep dive into what our reopening committee has been discussing over the past several weeks with an update for you, the school community, and then we'll move on from there. So, by the way, my sincerest apologies regarding our technology. As frustrating as it is for you, it is certainly for us as well. I want to thank our tech crew in the back for trying to patch things together at the last second. And for those of you who are home, who are listening, my deepest sympathies for the way it's been taking place so far. But thank you for bearing with us, and again, thank you for technology too. Dr. Shields?
Thank you, Dr. Hines. We had an enrollment report put together on August 2nd, And at that time, we had 5,196 students registered to come to school this September. That's 15 students less than we had at our last enrollment report, which was done in May, on the 25th of May. I want to share with the community that if you have any kindergartners that you have not enrolled yet, please make sure you enroll them, because we're noticing that while we projected 391 students to come into the kindergarten class, we only have 345 registered so far. So that number is a little lower than we're used to, but we're monitoring that number and staying in touch with our elementary schools to monitor class size as well. I was asked a question by one of the school board members to look at how many students left the district last year for private and parochial school. So we had 141 students last year that chose to go to private and parochial school. And the question was asked is how many of them have returned? So 37 of those students have re-enrolled in the public school. The question was also put in the context of, do we have the ability to accommodate them as they return? And the answer to that is yes, we do. They're evenly spread out over 3 levels for the most part, so it's not going to overburden any level of the district. So we're able to accommodate those 37 students that are returning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shields. Everything else I want to say sets me up when I begin to unpack what the community's recommending.
Thank you, Dr. Shields, and thank you, Dr. Hines. Next, we have a motion to approve the BOE meetings from May 25th, 2021, June 8th, 2021, June 22nd, 2021, July 6th, 2021, July 8th, 2021, and July 14th, 2021. Do I have a second for that motion? Ms. Brooks? Thank you. Now we'll take a vote. All in favor? Ms. Gilliard and Mr. Smith for the minutes? Yes? It looks like they're all. Oh, and I'm sorry, Ms. Bays and Ms. Melconian, all in favor for the approval of the minutes? You can raise your hands.
All in favor.
Ms. Melconian? Raise your hand. All right, thank you. Now we're moving on to the discussion items. We're actually reversing the order. We're going to start with the facilities update first. Ms. O'Hara and Mr. Vistano will be providing that update.
We can just fire up the projector here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kathleen O'Hara, Assistant Superintendent for Business. I just started in July, and I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. James Rustano, our Director of Facilities. So we're going to provide you with an overview of the different capital improvements and the facilities updates that have been taking place. Construction started in June, and it's been continuous. So we thought it would be beneficial to provide you all with an update of what's been completed, what's to come, and some target dates of future things.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you to the board for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you, Dr. Hines. And I would be remiss to say one thing. I'm going to go off a little off topic here. I want to just say it's been a pleasure working with Ms. Callahan for these 13 years. And one of the best people I ever met. And a welcome to Ms. O'Hara. Okay, so as you all know, everybody that walked up to the high school today saw piles of dirt and all kinds of things all over the place, but that's a good thing. We're in the middle of a lot of projects going on at the high school. Right now, we have renovation of 7 faculty and student bathrooms in this building. We have cafeteria renovations, which include the serving line, new HVAC, drop ceiling and lighting. The cafeteria expansion is gonna get going this year as well, and that's gonna blow out the side of the cafeteria and give us some extra seating, which will also have a stairwell connecting to the commons area upstairs to give students a little more room to have their lunch. The front plaza and walkway, we will have, again, that's where all the dirt is outside. It's going to be a beautiful new plaza with an ADA access. And also on the other side of the building, to the north, is a new technology industrial arts addition. It's going to be state of the art, and it's well received. Okay, this is just some pictures of bathroom renovations. On the left is a rough in, and then on the right side is where you have some tile, and it's almost complete. The high school cafeteria, hoisting up the HVAC unit, and some of the ductwork for the new HVAC system in there as well. Drop ceilings, multiple locations in the building as well. And again, all this work was voted on back in 2015, I believe, and we're on target, and everything's proceeding nicely. Okay. This is a picture of the front entrance. I guess everybody saw it in the daylight when we got here. The middle is just a drawing of what the plaza will look like when it's completed, and the bottom right picture is the technology addition, which you will see foundation going in very shortly. And we'll move over to Weber. Weber, we had quite a few projects done in the past year or so. We all know about the new wing. Right now, we're completing the window project. That includes replacement of doors, which will go until November, unfortunately, and the installation of the new cupola, which you can see on the right there was the way it stands right now. And take a look at that beautiful green grass. So the cupola will be hopefully before by November as well. Daly Elementary is just getting started also. We are in the process of building a 6-classroom pre-K center, main office and nurses space, and the renovation of rooms inside the building. That will go on until January of 2023. The heavy construction will start beginning mid-September, and then the removal of the portables will complete the project in August 2023. And in the next week or so, 2 weeks, you'll start seeing fencing and relocation of underground utilities. This is a picture of the front end, the new addition, and the floor plan, the elevation of the floor plan that is being built. Guggenheim Manhaven had its share of work the past couple of years. This year it's getting a break of construction, and we're doing routine maintenance and cleaning in preparation to open the school. That's going well. Sousa had the last section of roof put on that was giving us trouble over the years. There's a panoramic picture of that roof section that was just completed. I'm happy to say that was the last roof section of that building, and that building will be watertight. Here we are at Salem. We have a small section of roof that we were able to get done this summer, a piece of the larger section that will happen next year. And also in the next week or so, we're going to be starting the parking lot renovation of that building. The administration building just had its parking lot completed. We're about to get the lines painted on, probably by the weekend. Okay, so in design right now is Sousa and Salem HVAC and air conditioning upgrades. Sousa and Salem classroom and STEAM addition. Sousa auditorium renovation. And that will lead us into our building condition survey discussions with the Budget and Facilities Committee. That will be an ongoing discussion as we go through the year. Next year, that report will be due, will be right on time. Okay. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Estrada. Thank you, Ms. O'Hara. Welcome also to your first real, right? Thank you. I appreciate it. The question, Ms. Brooks, we'll pass this down.
Thank you for that. So you can probably anticipate my question, and it's going to be with the construction at Schreiber and the cafeteria not being ready until September 2022. How will that impact how the kids, where the kids eat their lunch, especially given COVID, and we want the kids to remain socially distanced, especially when they're not wearing their masks while they eat? And same question if there's an impact at Daly.
I'm
And
sorry.
same question if there's an impact at Daly. I know Daly, you're just working on the prepay, and I'm sensing that that's not going to impact where the kids are, where they eat. They still have their portables. So is there a concern at Schreiber?
Okay, yeah, you're concerned about the completion date for Schreiber, is that what you said?
Well, where will they eat?
I'm having a real hard time.
Where will they eat?
Where will they be?
Eating.
Where will they eat? They'll be eating in the my hearing is very bad, you have to excuse me. But they will be eating in the cafeteria. That cafeteria will be open in September 1st. Okay. The newer edition will not be ready until next year. I'm sorry if that was not clear.
That's okay. It's a question I've been asking, I think, since April or May, so I'm just following up.
If I could just add to that, because one of the many things we learned last year was that lunch can be difficult, especially at Schreiber, just because of the way the schedule is. So we are in the middle of getting canopies like we did last year for outside, for the courtyard. So we're going to have canopies set up so we can have students outside as well as the cafeteria.
Also, the entranceway for the high school will be to the right for students and staff could go in there. And on the left will be the visitors and staff. So we are working on signage to make sure everybody understands where they can go. And the buildings, once they've looked at everything, they'll be putting the information up.
And you did ask about Daly, about the portables. Yeah, they will be in operation during the course of construction. That will be the last piece that is done on that project, is the demolition of those. And they are taking precaution early on in the project to make sure the foundation is going to be pretty close to that one portable. And they're taking precautions to make sure that that's all safe up in the roads.
Does the board have any other questions? Anyone else? And I ask Ms. Marconi and Ms. Bates for their job. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you. On to our next discussion item, which will be the reopening update.
I want to keep that microphone away from yours so they don't start squeaking. Okay, so let me talk schools should look like in their mind when it comes to their kids. And again, I deeply respect and fundamentally understand where you are coming from. I really don't think, and this may be wrong of me to say, there is no right and wrong in all of this. There are matters of difference of opinion. There are responsibilities that I believe a school must uphold. I think what we'll find in New York State, for some reason or another, the New York State Department of Health has failed, in my humble opinion, as far as sharing guidance for schools. They did say, regardless of what's happened to the governor today, they did say they would provide information for schools at the end of last year. But needless to say, I am proud of our school district, not only for last year, but because of what we've been doing over the summer. And so specifically, I would like to thank our reopening committee. I want to thank Dr. Shields. I know we have in attendance tonight, whether virtually or physically here, members of this committee. That is a cross-section, that is an eclectic mix of our school community, from teachers to board members to administrators to paraprofessionals to doctors to police officers who are on this committee, listening and reading the most up-to-date information. Again, whether some of us may agree or not, there are many commonalities that I've certainly shared my information with my Nassau colleagues. For those of us who do live in Suffolk, I do, full disclosure, live in Suffolk County. We found out yesterday that the Suffolk County Department of Health decided to share their guidance with their superintendents and school districts. And again, I'm not pointing fingers, but I am pointing to facts in the sense that Nassau County has failed to do so. When I shared this information with the superintendents in Nassau County, we have a president who happens to be the superintendent in Levittown, who I'm very friendly with. She, in turn, set up a meeting with Laura Curran and Dr. Eisenstein today. I actually shared information with Laura Curran last night saying, if Suffolk can do it, Nassau can certainly do this as well. So there was a conversation with some Nassau County superintendents with Ms. Curran and Dr. Eisenstein. I just want to give you the tenor and tone of what that conversation was like before I begin to unpack what the committee has recommended, and I do agree with, that I will recommend with the Board of Education. So Dr. Eisenstein said he does not believe that he has the authority to tell school districts to mandate masks. That being said, he is in favor of the guidance that is shared by the CDC and believes that we should follow that guidance. Nassau County was in the process of preparing a document similar to Suffolk's, but given that state ed said that they would provide guidance, they have put their document on hold. Nassau County also thinks that the Suffolk County document is a good one, and I have that here in front of me. Nassau County thinks also that they will provide quarantine protocols for us, and we will receive them before the start of the school year. I shared with the school board earlier, don't hold your breath, but you never know, and if that's the case, then we will certainly follow them. Nassau County believes that we should follow the CDC recommendations. Not only that, they believe that we will see a spike of cases in September within schools. But then by October, the variant will potentially fizzle out, and as a result, Nassau's high vaccination rate may decline. He also said that we need to be prepared for changes in conditions over the next several months. And then finally, that local data by zip code will be provided to us to help us in decision making, but we did not see any example of that being the superintendent. Now, when County Executive Kern was asked what her thoughts were about this, she stated two things. One is she does not believe that the county can mandate protocols, and the second is she believes in the ability of school boards to make effective local decisions, and agrees that the county will provide public health advice and that the CDC recommendations are consistent with the health commissioner's public health advice. Also, as you know, and some of you here have shared with the school board different documents. whether it's the CDC, whether it's the pediatricians, all sorts, even SED, which does not govern, it governs us as a school district, but it doesn't govern as far as what should take place from a medical standpoint. But they also chimed in because of the lack of leadership, in my humble opinion, again, that the New York State Department of Health has not provided, but they have, and that's very much appreciated. So with that said, let me go into what we are sharing with the Board of Education as far as the recommendations. And in general, these are general guidelines, and then I'm sure that the board will have questions about whatever those guidelines are. And Dr. Allen, myself, and Dr. Shields will answer those questions. So schools will fully open for all students pre-K through 12, starting on Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, and we cannot wait to see your children. We are so excited. And I'm sure you're excited to have your kids out of the house and come to school. Second, masks will be required indoors for all students and staff. We are following the CDC and the AAP guidance that prioritizes in-person instruction, and the district will not offer a fully remote virtual learning platform. We want our kids in school. It's incredibly important that we have them physically in school. Social distancing of 3 feet is a priority while students and staff are inside the schools, and the CDC guidance on quarantining will be followed. We will be using the daily health screeners, and this will be required for all students, staff, and visitors, and we will explain why that will continue. All transportation will return to normal schedules, and I said this at the end of June before. We want to make this year as normal as possible, and some of you may not think that's possible because of what I just said before, but I do believe we can, and I know we will. Masks will be required for everyone riding the school bus. We will continue to follow the CDC guidance of cleaning and disinfecting our schools. All athletics and school activities will resume in the fall. And yes, we want visitors in our schools once again, so that will take place. Finally, and I think this is most important, or just certainly up there, we will reevaluate what we are saying right now at the end of November. It's incredibly important, and again, I really do, we collectively honor what you were all thinking and feeling at this point. I really do mean that. And that is why it's incredibly important that we reevaluate what we are doing, and then we come back to the board with recommendations to see how we proceed forward. Again, there were a lot of lessons learned. There were some mistakes that were made last year for sure, and I'm certainly accountable, and I hold myself to a very high standard. The things that we have learned, we can certainly apply now, moving forward. And one of them is to continue to pivot when we have to, and then readdress and reevaluate, and then make sure the school community knows why we are doing what we are doing, and being very clear with that messaging moving forward. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to the board for questions that they may have. They have the full document. What we are planning to do, because I'm sure this is one of the questions the board has, as far as sharing this with the community, what does that look like? What does that sound like? What we're looking to do tomorrow, once the board meeting's over, is to share this with the staff first. Now, again, I'm not in the audience, but I'm sure probably half the staff knows now because of this board meeting, but it is important nonetheless to make sure that we are very clear in the messaging to the staff so they know what to expect. And then after that, in turn, we plan on sharing this with the community tomorrow afternoon. With that, we will also make sure that we will have all this information available not only on our website, but also through our social media platforms that we have as well. From there, we will continue to make sure that whatever school that your children go to, that this information is reinforced at a more local level within the school that your children or child goes to. So you'll hear this more at a granular level from the building principals. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to the board to answer any questions that they may have.
We turn it over to the board. Does anyone have a question at this time? Mr. Smith, why don't you, I think you have a number of questions. Why don't you ask the first two questions, and then we'll give other members of the board an opportunity to ask as well.
So I'll focus my questions right now on quarantine procedures. Hey, does this work? Okay. So, I'm disappointed that this is where we are as it relates to masks, and I share another. I appreciate everything that everybody said. I do think that our responsibility right now is to keep the students in school as much as possible. And where we are at this moment, there's no doubt that keeping masks on indoors is the best way to keep the students in school. So I think that we came to the right decision here. That being said, my biggest concern is how we're going to keep students in school as much as possible, which I think is the trade-off for wearing masks indoors. So, Dr. Allen, could you explain in excruciating detail how we're going to determine what quarantine looks like and how we're going to communicate that to all of the buildings so that we don't end up with kids kept home from school for 10 days because people weren't thorough in the contact tracing, et cetera?
Sure. Just a second, Dr. Allen, I'm receiving information on the live stream. It was hard to hear you, so I'm just going to reiterate your question in its simplest format. You've asked Dr. Allen to please explain the quarantine procedure.
Sure. Part of the changes that we received from the CDC recently did allow for an exception when it comes to close contacts for our students. So most importantly, as long as students grades K through 12 are sitting within 3 feet of each other, but wearing their masks correctly, they can be excluded as a close contact and would not require quarantine. That being said, anytime we have a case, myself or the school nurse or John Bowman will call the Department of Health, go over the situation with them, and see what they advise. The other thing that Nassau County did give to us last year in the spring was the ability to use what I'll call a scooping method. So we were able to kind of cut a circle out and from the identified positive, and only those students or staff in that radius would need to quarantine. So we're going to be looking at both of those moving forward.
So, there was a lot of quarantines in our school last year, and my understanding is the majority of them were in the entire classroom. So what would the scenario be this year that would quarantine the entire classroom based on what you're envisioning right now?
If I had to guess, there would not be a scenario with that at this point, based on the exception that the CDC allows and the scooping method that Department of Health allows us to use. So unless there's a multiple outbreak in the classroom, maybe that would get us to that point, but I wouldn't expect it.
And what about school buses?
I'm sorry.
Positive cases on a school bus.
So that, depending upon they're following their protocols, the windows are open, there's shorter bus rides, and again, everybody is masked appropriately, it would still fall into that exception of not needing to quarantine.
Including if it's under 45 degrees and the windows are closed?
I would probably have to talk to the Department of Health on that. Some of the newer CDC guidance does talk about cracking the windows even if it is below 45 degrees, and that's still acceptable.
I think that's a critical piece of information you should share that will help parents determine if they want to use bus transportation or not in advance of the school year, or in advance of the winter.
I think it's incredibly
So
useful.
can I ask one question?
Mr. Smith, if I could just clarify, because I'm not sure if everyone understands what that exception is when it comes to quarantine, so I just want to read that verbatim so everyone understands. The exception is in the K through 12 indoor classroom setting. The close contact definition excludes students who are within 3 to 6 feet of an infected student if both the infected student and the exposed student correctly and consistently wore the well-fitting masks the entire time. And that's important to understand. The other thing that's important is that if there are mitigating factors that actually lead up to that as well, that assist in that, such as the screener that everyone probably is not crazy about filling out in the morning, but it still allows us to move forward and that's important when it comes to quarantining as well.
Okay, so then, the last question on the topic is, what Dr. Lang just read. It states that if the exception is if 2 students are more than 3 feet away from each other, they wouldn't be quarantined. What if the positive person is a staff member and there's a student within no more than 3 feet of them?
It applies to the students, not to staff.
Okay, so I think that should be clarified.
Yes. It is part of this document which we will be sharing, but it does not apply to staff.
So if the student would not be quarantined if a teacher came into the classroom and did not enter their circle.
That's my understanding of it, but I think as we have that scenario, we would speak to Department of Health. But that is my understanding of it. It was probably about half and half, depending upon the level.
So that's like half of the kids not staying home, so we should probably lower that piece as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I know Ms. Melconian asked some questions, and I think I saw Ms. Gilliard, you had your hand raised. Did you whisper? No? Okay, so we'll come to you after Ms. Melconian. Ms. Melconian, can you ask your questions? Okay, so yes, clear masks are definitely an option. Last year, we had purchased clear masks for our students that received either hearing services, speech and language services, or had some other type of reasonable accommodations that they couldn't wear a mask. We would be able to provide those. So yes, absolutely. That's something we can do. Great, thank you. Ms. Gilliard?
I don't want everyone on the live stream complaints. So continue to text us if people on the live stream can't hear us. Thank you for this great decision. I think it's very difficult to make a decision when you have the community evenly split and feeling as passionately as the community feels tonight. I have sympathy for every parent sitting here. There's absolutely nothing worse as a parent than to feel that your child's about to be impacted negatively by a decision and to feel powerless. So I understand that, and I understand why everybody is so passionate by this. I also share Dr. Hines' sentiment that we've been failed by New York State here. I think public health experts should make public health decisions. And this is a body, an administration that's dedicated to education. I wouldn't let public health experts make education decisions. And really, we shouldn't be making public health decisions, but here we are. And so to my mind, once educators need to make a public health decision, it's vastly intellectual and eruditing the educators to look to public health experts and to say, what do public health experts think about this? And at this point, the overwhelming science and overwhelming opinion of public health experts is that masking keeps children safe in schools. And so I'm heartened that that's what we're going to do for the fall with the situation the way it is right now. The CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, our local physician parents, everybody's in favor of masking our children. And I think that this is the right decision. I know it's disappointing to some people. I think we all would prefer that our kids were not masked. But I think that it supports what our ultimate goal is, which is to have school remain open and have the most children be able to attend school every single day in person safely. Because even if they don't get sick, being quarantined affects their education because they can't be present for their education. So this is the decision that protects their education. My question for Dr. Allen is, I'm reading the medical exemptions portion here. At the last meeting we had a number of parents who came and said that we haven't given any medical exemptions in the previous year. And I certainly understand why, given the circumstances that we were in. But we have many parents talk about the negative impact that the masks in particular have on their special needs children. There's not a ton of detail in this medical exemption. I'm wondering if there's been any conversation behind the scenes, or if the procedure on these medical exemptions is any different this coming year. Has there been any conversation about cost benefit weighing any differently this year? And I'm not pushing you because you're the expert here, genuinely asking.
No, I appreciate that. So the procedure is the same as it's always been. We just took the same medical procedure we would have used if a student needed home instruction for a medical reason, and we brought it over to the mask exemptions, and moving forward, the potential for not being able to be in school full time. So that procedure has not changed. Last year, I know there were some questions that came up last year, but just to clarify, last summer, we only received 5 requests for mask exemptions. None of them were granted. There was not a belief that there were a medical need for an exemption. And at this point in time, I only have 2 for this year coming out. But as I'm sure this information gets out, people may look for that exemption. Again, it's the same procedure though.
And, just to be clear what that process looks like, Dr. Allen, who makes ultimately that final decision that we then move forward?
Ultimately, if we need to get final input, it comes from our school physicians. So the nurses review the information, and if we need to, it goes out to the school physician.
And just for the record, because I believe I know the answer to this. First of all, thank you for telling me the number, because I had no idea that the number was that low. But it's truly a case-by-case basis. It's looked at in detail that particular child's circumstance as you make the decision about whether or not this is a place where a medical exemption exists.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Brooks, do you have a question?
Actually, I thought Ms. Gilroy was going to ask this question. So, in the packet, first of all, thank you to the reopening committee, to those of you who are on the reopening committee who are here. Thank you very much. And those of you at home. In the packet, it mentions at-home instruction for children who are medically unable to be in school. So I imagine it goes to the same medical screening process, but what does at-home instruction look like? Because I think I asked this question last year, and if I'm not mistaken, is it instruction that happens at the end of the school day? Is it a teacher goes to the home at the end of our school day, and then is with the child for a few hours, or can you help the community understand it's not the same as having a teacher from 8 o'clock in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon and so forth. So I think it would be very helpful with the community to understand what this means.
Sure. So anytime we look at home instruction, and that's really what it would be for a student, at the elementary level, they're entitled to 5 hours of instruction a week. And at the secondary level, it's 10 hours of instruction a week. It could be a little bit more depending upon lab classes or AP classes, and even at the elementary level, depending upon different needs. But those are generally the guidelines. If it is a teacher of ours, a Port Washington staff member that's providing that home instruction, yes, it does happen outside of the school day. If for whatever reason we can't secure one of our teachers, it goes to an agency, and then at that point, the agency would schedule directly with the parents. And in some instances, that could happen during the school day, depending upon that person's availability.
And is this guided by state law or
Yes.
state ed? So this is pursuant to state law and regulations?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions from the board? All right, and before we ask questions, I just want to remind the public and the community that we are requiring mask wearing during this session. So if any of you do not have a mask or don't have a mask on, we're asking that you kindly please put your mask back on. If you need new masks, they're in the back. Thank you so much, we appreciate it. All right, Mr. Block, are we going back in your presentation? You have a question? Sorry, Mr. Smith, you have a, sorry, yeah.
Cut me off when
I'll give you 2 more questions and then we'll go back around.
perfect.
Great.
So I'll just use two, I'll combine my first question. Pause and recess.
What was the first part of that?
Pause
Pod?
and recess.
We're
Two
not podding or cohorting any more than typical at the elementary level. You're a cohort just by being in a class, but there's no pods at the middle school and there's no extensive need to do cohorting at the elementary level.
And what about quarantines? Does quarantine change what we talked about earlier at lunch? Will lunch be factored in, like when the kids are on mask indoors?
So at lunch, our plan at this point is to maintain the distance of 6 feet because the students are unmasked. If the student's vaccinated at the secondary level, it wouldn't necessarily impact them, but at the elementary level, we certainly want to keep them at 6 feet to avoid any kind of quarantine from that.
And are we confident that in practice that can actually occur and that we're not going to say, oh, we're just going to control that class, so we have to quarantine all of them?
We have had some conversations with the principals, and they have said that they do have plans in place to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we will certainly reinforce that, Mr. Smith. Also, not only Shriver will, they have canopies, we'll have canopies in all of our schools. So if they choose to eat outside, they have the ability to do that, even in inclement weather. We're trying to space out our kids as much as we can, and it's really important that we go back to as much as we can in a safe way pre-COVID as far as the way we've operated. So I think you mentioned recess before, libraries picking up books, all those different things. We're going back to the way it was in that regard, which is really important.
That was your 2. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Gilliard.
So I'm clear that there will be arrangements for home instruction if somebody needs it, and that we're not doing a fully virtual option. But just for clarity, in previous meetings, there had been some mention there might be some sort of sharing fully virtual option with BOCES or with other districts if the need was there. Is that completely off the table at this point?
It is, actually. We just found out from BOCES they are no longer running that Lighthouse Academy because they don't have the numbers from other school districts.
Last question, and I apologize for this one, because I know the reopening committee and everybody already has a lot on their plate. But I think, to me, the science is clear that masks work. The science is also clear that not all masks are equal. And it's a source of personal consternation to me that the entities above us at the state and the federal level, the people who really should be giving a lot of guidance on this, have not. Has any thought or discussion been put into, since we are already doing so much of the work for public health entities that should be doing it for us, has there been any thought put into providing parents with a little bit more guidance about which masks are the best masks from a safety standpoint to send their children to school with, so that everybody doesn't have to do the individual footwork themselves?
So So what we can do at our next committee meeting, which is on Tuesday, we'll bring that up and we'll have a conversation about that and see how we can move that forward. I think we can certainly reinforce which masks are more effective, and I think we collectively agree that gaiters definitely don't fit the bill.
Okay. Ms. Davis has a question, so we're going to go to the video conference. Ms. Davis?
Thank you. Actually, thank you. It's actually a comment more than a question. So I want to thank the committee for the work that we've been doing, and I want to commend us as a school district for actually going through this process. Ideally, I hope that we would have not been in this situation coming in September. Ideally, I hope that we would have been as a community, as a country, as a world, past the COVID pandemic and past the discussion of whether or not we would be wearing masks. It would be my preference that we would be standing here saying that we will not be wearing masks in September. However, what makes me feel better about this decision is that we will be following the CDC guidance with regards to quarantine. Because I believe our ultimate goal, the one that we as a board are tasked with, and we as a school district are tasked with, is to have our children in school safely and keeping our children in school. So if we are following the quarantine rules of the CDC, I feel that we will be quarantining children less than they are wearing. We will fit masks clearly. So I feel comfortable following those rules. And I, again, am grateful for the work that we're doing as a school district in re-looking at where we stand in November. Because as Dr. Isaacson told you, and Dr. Hines, things may be different in November. And so I think the way we operated last year was that things were changing constantly, and I'm glad that this is something that we can live in documents. I just think this is something that is excellent and we should not change.
Does anyone else from the board have any other questions or comments? All right, for this point in this portion, I think at this point we'd just like to get a sense of the board to see if the board has, is feeling comfortable with the recommendation being put forth by the reopening committee so that we can move forward with these types of policies for our reopening of the bar. So we can just,
My apologies. I told our committee this afternoon that I would make this statement, and I'll be remiss if I didn't do that. You know, as eclectic as this committee is, not everyone is in agreement. We have the majority of the committee who is in agreement with this, but not everyone. And that's important for you, again, whether you're here physically or virtually, to understand. This is not an easy recommendation, but it is, I would say it's a supermajority of the committee, and I have deep respect for those who don't think this is the recommendation, but I feel confident moving forward. I feel confident moving forward because we are going to reassess that this is the right thing to do, and we will continue to reassess and keep the community updated.
thank you, Dr. Hines. Yes, so if we get a sense of the board at this point, does anyone have a concern or feel uncomfortable with the recommendation, or do you feel we can go ahead with it as it's stated? And give it a thumbs up and just give it a general nod. You can say yes if you'd like, or you can give a general nod.
I was going to say that I think this is a really good balance of kind of where we are right now, but the proof is going to be when we actually start getting positive cases, that the staff is actually going to go through and follow these. Now the question comes up: we're both students wearing a well-fitted mask. Well, I'm not really sure, so we'll just quarantine 10 feet around it. Were they next to each other at lunch? I'm not really sure. So I think that I will say that I'm for this plan as long as if you guys are going to ensure that we're not. It's horrible for kids when they're sent home for 2 weeks. It's horrible for their siblings. It's horrible for their parents. there will be a real focus on quarantining kids who need to be quarantined and not kids who should be in school.
So there will be a fidelity focus as far as what we're doing here. And we'll have a very consistent message with our administrators to make sure that everything that we have here that we were following through with is incredibly important. We want to see minimal quarantine. We want kids in school. And so, and by the way, we can control during the school day, but that also means that we need support in the weekends and after school as well, as far as what that entails. So we will certainly do our part to make sure we have our kids as safe as possible. And staff.
Thank you. And yes, Ms. Gilliard?
Sorry, I have one more question. On the issue of live streaming. So last year, I know we had parents who had raised the issue that our policy was to live stream when students were required to quarantine. And the quarantine rules were a little strange in that you could have one sibling in a family be required to quarantine and have the siblings of that child not be, quote unquote, required to quarantine. And so we heard from parents who kept their children home voluntarily in that standpoint, felt they were doing the right thing, erring on the side of making sure that they kept the community safe while they had one sibling pending COVID tests. But under our rules, the siblings were not allowed access to the live stream. Have we rethought that decision for the coming year at all, or will we?
I'm trying to microphone. So this is something that we are working out as a group collectively with administrators and with our teachers. So we'll have more information on that for the board in a few weeks. Certainly before school begins.
Wonderful. With that,
Can I add one more comment? And Dr. Hines, I apologize for putting you on the spot here, but I think I'm putting you on the spot in a place where I believe you are. Thank you for noting that we will reevaluate in November. I mean, I think if we learned one thing from COVID is that we have to be reevaluated because every time we think we have decisions, something changes. But I don't think I'm actually putting you on the spot when I say, I'm asking if I think I know the answer. We're going to be constantly reevaluating this. It's not that we're going to be looking in November. I think you and your administrators are going to continue to be all hands on deck. And if the situation changes fundamentally in either direction that necessitates change, we will change, right?
Yeah, so we're not going to wait we're not going to look at anything until November 15th. Yeah. So definitely what we will do continuously. By the way, we meet with all of our administrators once a week. That's something we've shifted as years past. So once COVID took place, we meet once a week and we really share best practices and things that are happening within each respective building. And we'll continue to do that and monitor things that are happening. And if something does happen, whether it's an anomaly or something that we feel is really moving forward district-wide, then we will come to the board and let you know what we're thinking.
all right, with that, I think we'll conclude the discussion. I'm getting a sense that the board is in agreement with this recommendation. Ms. Melkonian, I just want to see a visual from you. Are you in agreement or have any other issues with the recommendation? Is your thumbs up? Excellent. Got 2 thumbs up here. Thank you very much. All right, well with that, it concludes our discussion portion of the evening. The next part of the agenda, sorry, I'm just going to turn this down. The next portion of the agenda are our committee reports. At this time, our committees are still not meeting. They'll be meeting in the fall, and the calendar and dates of those will be posted. Dates and times of our committee meetings will be posted on the district calendar shortly. We encourage everyone to come and participate. Now we're on to section 11, our consent agenda. I know we have a question about one of our items on our consent agenda, but we also have a unique item which has to deal with the tax levy. It's item 11.1.3. So I'd like to read that. Be it resolved that the following budgets of the necessary claims and expenditures in Fort Washington Union Free School District in the town of North Hempstead, school year 2021-2022, amounting to, I I must read all of that, Ms. Callahan, or is it all right? Yes? $167,268,942, $167,268,942 for school purpose. $7,382,264,000 in library purpose, for a total of $174,651,204. $206, thank you, B, and the same is hereby accepted. Resolved that the sum of $146,775,940 for school purpose, $7,072,264 for library purpose, for a total of $153,848,204. Be the remainder of the budget adopted as above, and the amount which must be raised by taxation, the net amount, for Port Washington Union Free School District, number 4 of the town of North Hempstead, Nassau County, New York, for the year 2021-2022, be levied upon the taxable property of the said school district as said property has been certified to by the assessor for the school year 2021-2022. Resolved that the district clerk of this school district be and hereby authorized and directed pursuant to section 6-20.0 and amendments thereto of the Nassau County Administrative Code to file a certified copy of these resolutions with the Nassau County Legislature and the Department of Assessment, Mineola, New York, on or before August 16, 2021. Be as the board needs to vote on this independently, so we have a motion to vote. We have a second. Mr. Smith, thank you. And now Ms. Callahan, you'll call the vote. Thank you. Mrs. Hayes? Yes, she's giving me a yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Malconian? You know what, we're gonna pass this around at this point, and you guys can start the signatures of those documents, and then I'll finalize and wrap up for Ms. Malconian, Ms. Hayes, and myself, so we can continue forward. For the remainder of the consent agenda, I know we had a question regarding item 11.1.4. Ms. Brooks, would you like to ask your question regarding that before we vote?
I would, thank you. Could you please explain what it means by reallocation to cover the home instruction software through BOCES? Is this part of the home instruction to which I referenced before? The home instruction that occurs after the school day, or is this something different?
This is a program that was normally budgeted for in the technology budget, and it was just moved to BOCES because we're going to get BOCES aid on it. And, we get about 50.1% BOCES aid.
So this is for the kids who are home, they're being instructed at home, and so it's going to BOCES aid awards. Is that what I understand?
Yes. Thank you. Ms. Brooks, did you have any other questions for Mr. Smith? Are you raising your hand on the consent agenda? Can you reference the item number, please?
So, just, first of all, I just want to say that, as a board, we have a fiduciary responsibility to read and understand everything in the consent agenda. So I'd like to question is, can you talk about item 1.12, so 11.12 about the shortage in the workers' comp fund, and explain what's going on there?
So each year, the district is asked to reaffirm the reserves that we have. So at the end of each year, we're still closing out last year, the 2021-22 school year. So it's looking like there's going to be an excess of not to exceed $2 million that was left over from the prior year. We'd like to fund the workers' comp reserve. We put more funds in there, or the retirement reserve, the TRS reserve, or the ERS reserve. We're also thinking of putting funds into a capital repair reserve so that other things could be completed. So until the audit process is finished, we won't have a good idea how much. We can have an idea, a specific idea.
So, what are we authorizing exactly in this incentive? What are we authorizing in this incentive item?
So you're reaffirming the reserves that you already have, which is just really a matter of purpose, to reaffirm it. And what you're authorizing us to do is take $2 million, up to $2 million, and put it in some of
And how do we determine how much of that up to $2 million would go into any particular reserve? Are we giving that discretion to you, or will it come back to us?
Yeah, we would, based on what the average amounts each year that is used from the reserves, you can fund the reserves up to a certain amount. So I would come back to you after we work with the auditors and with the superintendent and let you know what we decided to put into those reserves.
Okay, and then but all of that money has to go into reserves.
Correct.
All right, wonderful. So we'll go forward with the approval of a motion to approve items 11.1, 11.2, 11.4 through 11.6.2. Do I have a second for that? Ms. Brooks? And now we will take a vote. Do you want to call the roll, or do you want to just do a show of hands, Ms. Callahan? A show of hands is sufficient, so we've got 5 here. I'm sorry, are you all in favor? Sorry, thank you. I have 6, but we have 7, everyone. Thank you. All right, excellent. Moving forward, we're on to board policy, item 12.1, the policy 6800, accounting of fixed assets. Do I have a motion to approve the policy for adoption with the recommendations of the superintendent? I have a second with Ms. Brooks, thank you. And now all that are in favor, will by a show of hands. I'm waiting for conference people. Great, and we have all 7 of us are approving that. Moving on to old business, as promised, we were covering community comment questions that came up from prior meetings at this meeting. The first question that we're actually going to come and discuss is regarding the athletic policy and school vacation and breaks. We did already discuss this at a previous meeting, but there's a further update, so we'd like to close the circle on that.
Okay, so I had the opportunity to speak with our new athletic director, Mr. Stratweiser. He in turn spoke to our coaches based on the community comments. I believe that was in June that took place. Also, I asked him to look at other policies in other school districts regarding this topic, as well as other athletic directors. So after a lot of reflection, Mr. Stratweiser came back to me and said what he's going to do, that's probably him right now, we took this very seriously. You know, in his first year, to make any change in a policy is a big deal, and he's doing it. So before, with the old policy, if a student athlete went, let's say, on vacation, whether it was during Thanksgiving break, whether it was during December break, whether it was during February break, if they went on vacation, they were no longer on the team. The change now, moving forward this year is, and this is again looking at collective other policies in Nassau County, the coaches felt in agreement with this, as well as Mr. Schreibweiser. If a student misses a game, they have to make up a game. So, meaning that if they miss a game because they're away, they have to miss one more game. If they miss 2 games because they're away, they have to miss 2 more games. They're no longer not on the team. And I think that's a really great compromise. I think it's a great way for us to, you know, understand at times if student athletes do have to go away, and by the way, the coaches still feel it's incredibly important that students are here during those practices and games, because these schedules are made well in advance before any of this happens. And my understanding is the parents and the students are shared what those schedules are well in advance. Be that as it may, they made that change, and that's closing the loop, and he's disseminating that information, if he hasn't already, with the coaches and with parents and students.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. The next questions regard the diversity committee. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Gilliard.
Just as a clarifying question, you mentioned about missing games. Is there a policy change for if they miss practice, like not a game?
So I would have to get a little more detail as far as what that would entail. My assumption is yes, if they're missing practice, they would probably have to make up practices, for sure. I don't know what that would look like, but I'll let the board know, and then in turn let the community know.
Thank you. Any other questions? Wonderful. The next question was regarding the diversity committee. There were 2 questions associated with this. What is the intent of the diversity committee, and when is the diversity committee reconvening, and how to establish involvement in that committee? The diversity committee is an ad hoc committee of the board. The purpose of that committee is to foster a community where differences are not an impediment to growth and where diversity is promoted and celebrated. The committee members were asked to lead by example and promote activities that benefit and unite our school community. And they did meet monthly under the direction of Nora Johnson, our former board president, and Shirley Shapiro. The committee was comprised of representatives from each school, a parent representative, and also members of the community, whether they had students in or not in the school district. Meetings were always posted on the district calendar, and all were always invited to attend. When is the committee reconvening? At this time, most of you know, we are doing work with NYU and reevaluating our diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. In February, the diversity committee decided that they needed to have an understanding of what their direction and purpose was moving forward, and they are seeking guidance through the NYU committee to see what their diversity, equity, and committee formation will look like moving forward. And in addition to that, we will have to find new chairs if this is a committee that the board wants to pursue in the future, as the chairs are no longer with our district. All right? So I think the answer to that is that once we receive the report from NYU, we will have better clarity on how we'll be moving forward with that committee. Next, the question which has actually been asked and answered, not only at last board meeting, but again at this, but we'll just for closing this loop. Now, medical mask exemptions. Dr. Allen, were there any medical mask exemptions issued during the 2021 school year? And if yes, how many?
Thanks. There were a total of 5 requests last year for mask exemption, medical exemptions, and last year.
Thank you for that. And now, do we have any new business from anyone on the board? Nope. All right, wonderful. That being said, we move on to our second and final opportunity for community comments. Just reminding everyone that they have 3 minutes, and we will first start from where we left off. I think that's been marked on the sign-in sheet. And please remember to identify
questions will be answered at the September 21st meeting. Do we have anyone who's going to move forward for community comments? Can we just use the microphone because the people live streaming cannot hear you if you don't use a microphone. Thank you.
My daughter is entering kindergarten and I'm actually new to the school district. I'm a little unprepared for tonight, maybe a little naive. I've been assuming we would have a mask mandate, so I'm happy to hear that we do. My concern is more so in regards to the social emotional aspect of the child. As the children return to kindergarten, what I'd really like to see is, if we are doing the masks and we are doing the 3-foot social distancing, that we don't create an overly restrictive experience for the child. So if we can remove the desk shields and we can bring the carpets back, have circle time, have a more normal return to recess. So if we, I think we are following the science and taking the precautions that the CDC is recommending. But beyond that, I would hope that we're doing everything we can to give our students, especially our young ones, from a personal side, as normal an experience as possible. Thank you.
And welcome to court. Tim, you carry me? Tim? Kenny, Gannon? Kenny?
A little late, but still want to comment. So my name is Carrie Gannon. I am a mom of 3 boys. I have someone in elementary, middle, and high school. So I feel very passionate about what our decisions are. Very passionate that we have such a great community that everyone feels came here tonight to see. So I think it's clear that we all are passionate, and what I was actually here was not to speak about math and shockingly, but rather that I think our highest priority has to be that they are in school 5 days a week. So I'm thrilled that we are starting school on September 2nd, and that what you are saying is you are committed to having them in school 5 days a week. I think last year was challenging. I think it hurt our children mentally, physically, and socially. I think the devil is in the details though, and I request that you really go into the details of how we can limit quarantining, how we can ensure that our kids are in school, engaging with their teachers, that the teachers are there and present, that they are socializing with their peers, which is important that we don't have the cohorts and the pods, and that they are out for recess and playing across classrooms and grades. I think it's imperative that we bring back sports and after-school activities, and I mean team activities. School sports in the middle school is critical. We have to be committed to the full experience of having our children in school and as part of this community. So with that, I would say I'm thrilled to hear we are going back to school, but I do think there's a lot more work to be done, and I ask that the board really get into those details and really figure out how are you going to keep our kids in school, because what we learned over this last year is it will change. The environment will change. There will be new things that you haven't planned for. And so I ask that you really do plan and work with the best experts to keep our kids in school. Adam?
Yep.
Good evening, how are you? I'm a father of 2, but I only have one more school, because 9 are on the street. Ethan has not a child. So I am very concerned with how some of the comments that I've heard so far about the mask and all that. Mask mandates are great and all, but I really don't see it being fully enforced, just because of the fact that we're going to see people wearing chin straps. You're going to see them not wearing it properly. And it's very
Excuse me, sir.
I just want to make sure that we're all listening and attentful to everyone. We've given everyone an opportunity to come to the microphone, and we really need to be able to hear what you're saying. So I just ask that the audience please listen while the community is speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. I just don't think that it's something that's very easily enforced. With that being said, I think that everybody should have an option. I enjoyed the virtual learning. My son still at it. He had no issues health-wise for the first time in God knows how long. That's my main concern, just the option to have virtual learning, because, again, everybody's entitled to their opinion, everybody's entitled to do whatever they feel is best for their child. But the fact that not everybody's on board with masks or whatever, that doesn't necessarily protect my child. Masks aren't meant to protect you from other people, they're meant to protect other people from you. So if that person's not wearing a mask, they're putting other people at risk. So that's why I say that we should look more into the virtual learning, because I'm pretty sure that I'm not alone in this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Regina McLean. I'm president of the Port Washington Teachers Association. I'm pleased that the district is discussing protocols for the 21-22 school year and moving to get a document out to the staff and the community very soon. No matter what was decided tonight, there are several weeks until school begins, and the situation will need to be closely monitored. We will need to be flexible and revisit protocols as the school year goes on. The members of the PWTA are caring and dedicated professionals. We want what is best for our students. As the president of the PWTA, I speak on behalf of over 500 teachers. When I speak, I share the collective experience and professional opinion of the educators who teach Port Washington students. Last school year, live streaming was imposed upon the teachers in Port Washington. We stated then that it was not good for our students, and we have not changed our opinion either after a year of experience utilizing live streaming. Live streaming is not good for our students. We have witnessed students struggle while live streaming. Why does this district believe it is educationally sound when the collective experience of its educators indicates otherwise? Why does this district believe that live streaming is enough when other districts have realized that it is not? Live streaming is not a substitute for an education. Our students deserve much better. Tonight's meeting shows how technical problems can impact the understanding of the people at home. Technology problems happen. As I sat here tonight listening, teachers were texting me, telling me that they could hear only about 10% of what was being said. And that happens to our students at home. We have similar problems in the classroom. And we are alone in the classroom when we are trying to troubleshoot those problems. There is a better way. Home tutoring would mean that children are tutored by a qualified Port Washington teacher. One-on-one or small group tutoring is much more effective in educating the students who need to quarantine. Home tutoring provides a better experience for the students from an academic and social emotional perspective. Home tutoring has been utilized for many years in this district to address situations when students are unable to come to school for specific reasons. It has proven to be effective, and it is what our students deserve. I hope the board will revisit this so that we can best serve the needs of our students. Thank you.
Hi, Erica Nagy again. I want to thank you for all the work that you've done. I appreciate the decision to get rid of the pods and for everything to go back to almost normal except the mask mandate. We heard from a lot of people tonight. A lot of people gave a lot of fearful testimony and data asking for there to be a mask mandate. I find it interesting that they have accepted that everything else go back to normal, and they left once the decision to have a mask mandate was given. So I find that really interesting. I would assume that you did did not make this decision lightly, and I would hope that you looked at specific studies to make your decision. And I would ask that for the next board meeting, you come up with a presentation to show what data you used to make this decision for the mask mandate.
Thank you.
Good evening, Nicoletta Barnes. I just have a statement to make. A friend sent this over. Vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Both can spread the virus. Both can contact the virus. Both can be hospitalized from the virus. Both can still die from the virus. And both can remain completely healthy and have no issues at all. But yet, both seem to be at war, like one choice outranks the other. I respect everyone's choice. Do whatever makes you feel good, secure and safe, but stop judging others for their choices. It's creating way too much separation. Be safe out there and keep those immune systems right, whether vaccinated or not. That's your real cure. And I think we all need to focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for community comments? Oh.
Andrea Brady again. I would just like you to please take into consideration, my daughter, she's 16, she really didn't have much problem with the mask, except for the end of the school year. It was very, very hot. She was texting me from class saying she was uncomfortable. She felt like she was gonna pass out. She would come home, we went out for my birthday dinner in June. She was feeling anxious and we had to leave because she couldn't catch her breath and breathe properly. I think you need to take into consideration how you're gonna handle, especially September. It probably still will be very hot and very few classrooms have air conditioning. So this is a problem that needs to be addressed if you are going to insist our children wear masks. The other thing I would like to be considered is the possibility that masking, I don't know if this is possible for younger children, but in Weber and in Schreiber, there is no need for a teacher to come within 3 or 6 feet of a child. And I think it might be reasonable to consider possibly that masks may need to be worn in hallways, walking in and out of classrooms, but just like in a restaurant, once the child is seated and they don't have to be in close contact with the teacher, again, I don't know if this works in the really younger grades, but that they might be able to remove their masks, at least for part of the time. Just something that I'm asking you to possibly consider, depending on how things move forward. Thank you.
Any further community comments? No? I'd just like to thank the community, both here and also live streaming. I know we had some delays. I know we also had some technical difficulties. I know we had a lot of passion, but we really appreciate hearing from all of you and for you all sticking through and following our rules, and for that we thank you. So thank you for being active participants. We'd also like to say thank you to Mrs. Callahan, as this will finally be her final board meeting. So we made it a long one for you. Thank you for your years of service, and thank you for all that you've done. And we will never forget you.